With the resignations and controversy that's happened here at Chafford 100 Primary, can you take us right back to the start and tell how it all began?
Well, we had some issues around funding, obviously the budget, and there's been some issues from the past really around where we've asked for information. We haven't really got full information. And as governors, you need that to make decisions. We're there as critical friends. I think this is very important we make this comment. We're not there to run the school, we're not there to manage the school, we're there to help. And we're there for the benefit of the children.
So, chronologically, when was the first time you had a concern?
That would be in January, when we were looking at a possible deficit budget of a very high figure. But we started to look at the figures, but the figures kept changing, and so I don't want to specifically say the figures, but basically we were looking at a deficit budget, and this was from looking at a very healthy carry forward from October. That's why it was a big shock to us as governors, because having been given paperwork that said that we had a very healthy carry forward, to looking at a very huge figure of deficit was a big shock, actually.
So when you asked about why suddenly we're going to have this deficit, what was the answer?
The answer was that they've obviously decisions have been made to recruit extra members of staff for various purposes, and the answer given was that they felt they had the money.
So at any stage were staff told that they were going to be made redundant?
They were called to a meeting with the deputy head and advised that they were going to be going into a consultation process which could result in the process started not correctly. The due process wasn't followed correctly, and with input and feedback from Essex HR, I think we were asked to really consider stopping it, because we were probably going to be liable for a union case against us because the process wasn't being followed properly.
So in the midst of a recession, that must have put a lot of staff under a huge amount of pressure.
Yeah, staff are very anxious. Who wouldn't be anxious? I mean, you know, everybody thinks their job is safe, and for us as governors, that's a really hard decision to have to think about and to make, especially when one minute you're looking at a healthy budget and the next minute you're looking at, you know, I won't say a huge deficit, but I'm not going to say the figure, but it was large. And in order to try and balance the books, the options given to us were target TAs and make them redundant.
So the role of Thurrock Council here, what was your communication level with the council?
Well, they were notified we had a problem in January. We have what's it called? Poper. From the council who works with the school, sat on our governors' meetings. So they were fully informed of the way things were going. They knew the mood of the body, how we were working with the head, how it wasn't really working. It wasn't working very well. We would make a decision as a governing body to act in a certain way, and it was not done that way. And it actually got to a point where we had to go and see a member of the senior member of the local authority, and we sat down with that person. And at that time, they wanted us to take the extra children. Now, that was fine. Let's all agree. We would probably do that because you just do. The truth is, you don't have a choice. They'll tell you to do it anyway, and you just do it. So we agreed. We thought that our governing body would agree, and it was done that way. But at that time, they promised that they would do something about our situation. 5 weeks later, nothing had happened, and indeed, something had happened that forced us that we just couldn't. They then said we can't come in and do this thing. Something had happened. They said we can't do this. You've got to sort something out yourself. We can't talk about that here. We had a decision to make. We talked about this as a protest. Really, it's about the authority. Nothing to do with the children. We're here for the children. We resigned. It put us in a very, very difficult situation, to the point where we had no choice. No choice at all.
So your critics might say that now you have resigned, you have no power to influence the situation. What on earth can you do from the outside looking in?
Yes, I've heard that already, but at the end of the day, the key thing here that everybody hasn't sort of really addressed is, all 7 governors who resigned are parent governors. There is no more parents left in the governing body to start with. And secondly, we're all still parents at the school with children in the school. So I believe we have parent power to ask questions and have frank and open answers, not only from the school management but from the local authority, how they are actually meeting the needs of the children, because I feel that the children are going to be the people who's going to be suffering here, because as governors we were made to feel that we have very limited areas to sort of go up to, and we pushed the boundaries as much as we could. We came to a point where we couldn't go nowhere, and that's the reason we felt like we had to resign. But also we did resign as a sign of protest as well against the local authority and the management of the school in the way that everything is being managed, which in the long run will affect the children. I sincerely believe that, and I think all my governors, all 7 parents sincerely believe this is going to have a long-term implication. Something is going to happen that's going to affect the school and the children greatly.
So just to make things clear, if things continue as they are, in what way will things affect the children? I
mean, just looking at the budget, if it's continue to be managed the way that is being managed, obviously resources for the children will be affected. If it's going to affect staffing, we're going to start losing members of the staff. So obviously, we've lost 16 members of the staff to date, just over in 18 months period, and over them are 11 teachers. 11 of them were teachers, and we've had great staff turnovers. These are already affecting the children. Parents are bringing these issues to the head teachers' attention, but it seems like those concerns are not being addressed. There is always a reason for everything. And sometimes the reasons are just not good enough, not as a parent with children in the school. And therefore, yeah, the budget is going to have great implications on the children's resources, staffing. So where are we going to go from here?
And not being a governor doesn't mean that you don't have some power to try and influence change. I mean, that's why we're standing in front of you with this camera, whatever time of the morning it is, because, we're committed, even though we're not governors anymore, to making sure that the issue is, we've raised awareness, which is probably one of the main things. We want the local authority to sit up and listen and take heed that, we're not going to go away. I think they need to look at what they've promised, what they're not delivering, how they're supporting this school, how they're letting the children down, and how they're letting the senior management team, perhaps make a mockery of them, I don't know, but at the end of the day, they need to start opening their eyes and doing their jobs and looking at what are the problems here and how they can fix them.